Emily had always felt safe in her quiet suburban neighborhood, a place where everyone knew each other and the biggest excitement was the annual block party. But that sense of security began to crumble one autumn evening when she found a single red rose on her front porch. There was no note, just the flower, its vibrant color stark against the wooden planks. At first, Emily thought it might be a romantic gesture from a secret admirer. She dismissed it as harmless and brought the rose inside, placing it in a vase on her kitchen table. The next morning, however, she found another rose on her porch. This time, unease gnawed at her. She decided to ask her neighbors if they had seen anything, but no one had. Days turned into weeks, and the roses kept appearing. Emily grew increasingly paranoid, her nerves frayed by the constant reminder that someone was watching her. She installed security cameras around her house, hoping to catch the mysterious visitor in the act. But every morning, the footage revealed nothing. The roses appeared as if by magic, without a trace of the stalker. One evening, as Emily was reviewing the latest camera recordings, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Do you like the flowers?" Her blood ran cold. She dialed the police, but without concrete evidence or a suspect, there was little they could do. The officers assured her they would increase patrols in her neighborhood, but it did little to calm her fears. The messages continued, each one more unsettling than the last. "I see you wore blue today. It's my favorite color. Your hair looks beautiful when it's down." The stalker knew intimate details about her life, things only someone watching closely would notice. Emily felt trapped, her home no longer a sanctuary but a prison. One night, Emily heard a noise outside her bedroom window. She froze, listening intently as the sound grew louder. Gathering her courage, she grabbed a baseball bat and crept toward the window. Peeking through the blinds, she saw a figure standing in her backyard, partially hidden in the shadows. The person was tall, wearing a dark hoodie that obscured their face. Emily's heart pounded in her chest as she dialed 911, whispering urgently into the phone. Minutes later, she heard the wail of sirens approaching. The figure in the backyard turned and disappeared into the darkness, leaving her trembling and clutching the bat. The police arrived and searched the area but found no sign of the intruder. They advised Emily to stay with a friend or family member until they could conduct a thorough investigation. Terrified and exhausted, she packed a bag and drove to her sister's house across town. For a while, things seemed to calm down. Emily began to feel safe again, the constant anxiety slowly dissipating. But one evening, as she was getting ready for bed, her phone buzzed with a new message. "You can't hide from me, Emily. I'll always find you." Panic surged through her as she showed the message to her sister, who immediately called the police. This time, they traced the number and discovered it belonged to a burner phone, making it nearly impossible to identify the stalker. They urged Emily to remain vigilant and consider changing her phone number and online profiles. Despite these precautions, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Every creak of the house, every rustle of leaves outside, sent her heart racing. She started seeing a therapist to help manage her fear, but even that provided only temporary relief. One particularly stormy night, the power went out, plunging the house into darkness. Emily lit candles and huddled on the couch, trying to read a book to distract herself. Suddenly, she heard a faint tapping sound coming from the front door. Her blood turned to ice as she realized the stalker might have found her. Clutching her phone, Emily crept toward the door, her heart pounding. The tapping grew louder, more insistent. She took a deep breath and flung the door open, ready to confront her tormentor. But there was no one there. Instead, a single red rose lay on the doorstep, its petals glistening with rain. Emily backed away, slamming the door shut and locking it. She called the police again, her voice shaking as she explained what had happened. They arrived quickly and searched the area but found no sign of the stalker. The officers promised to keep an eye on the neighborhood and suggested Emily consider moving somewhere more secure. As the days passed, Emily made arrangements to relocate to a new city, hoping to finally escape the nightmare that had consumed her life. She found a cozy apartment in a bustling downtown area, hoping the constant activity would deter her stalker. For a while, it seemed to work. She began to rebuild her life, making new friends and even starting to date again. But one evening, as she returned home from a dinner date, she found a single red rose on her doorstep. Her heart sank, realizing the nightmare was far from over. A message soon followed. "Did you really think you could get away from me?" Emily's resolve hardened. She refused to let the stalker control her life any longer. She hired a private security firm to monitor her apartment and began working with a cybersecurity expert to track down the stalker. They discovered a trail of online activity that led to a former coworker, someone she had barely known but who had become dangerously obsessed with her. With this evidence, the police were finally able to arrest the stalker. As the handcuffs clicked into place, Emily felt a wave of relief wash over her. The nightmare was over. She could finally breathe again, knowing the person who had tormented her for so long was behind bars. Though the fear would take time to fully fade, Emily knew she was strong enough to reclaim her life. She surrounded herself with supportive friends and family, determined to move forward. And as she looked out at the sunrise one morning, she felt a renewed sense of hope.